NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other mints. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices, I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for rubber mints. Hush now, city kids. But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. This is the Fans Forum, the start of another week coming towards the end of January, and Newcastle United are back on track. Another win at Southampton, 3-1, and as always, got the Fans Forum for the next hour to give us their opinions. And big welcome to Jeff Carter. Jeff joined us in the lockdown era. He's been in the chat, as we all know, and we saw him at the last get-together as well. Great to have Jeff back on the show and hearing his opinion. And Martin will be joining us tonight as well. We haven't had Martin on since last year, but Martin will be back on the show tonight as well. But if you've got your questions and points, put them in the chat. We'll try and get to them if we can. But as always, go to Ward George to start with to find out what his views were on the win at the weekend. George, what did you make of that?
Well, it was great. I've got to say, when the first 10 minutes, you know, they were looking a bit nervous, but once they got that out of the way, there was no problem. I mean, from back to front and vice versa, everybody did what they needed to do, and it was great to watch. Again, the hero for me, man of the match, was Tonali. I mean, Isak scored 2 goals, but Tonali was the man of the match by a country mile. What I'm interested in is most of the pundits do. I'm beginning to think I'm wrong. When I agree with the pundits, I start to worry. But almost without exception, they got Tonali as the number one. And the other thing that slightly annoys me is that if his goal had been scored by somebody else or in some other team, you'd have seen it on Sky every 2 minutes. Every time they opened the programme, you would have seen that goal, because it was a superb football goal from beginning to end. You know, the long ball from Shaw was knocked back. Tonali wins the header, plays it out to Isak, who chests it out to Gordon. And by the time Gordon plays the killer pass, Tonali's already clear of Southampton and on his way down to goal. I mean, just couldn't be better. And it was good to see everybody just working their socks off again. Not quite as Rolls-Royce style as we've been in some of the games, but not far away from it. And we Lewis Hall, I've got to say, started a bit nervously, but once he got it into his stride, they tried to muscle him a little bit with the fullback coming forward as well. And this time he rode it out, where against Bournemouth he was lost because he didn't get the cover that he needed. But yeah, across the field, wherever you look, the people were doing what they were needed to do. And I find, again, talking about what people do and how people react. Again, if that had been Bruno instead of Murphy that put that through ball for Isaac's goal, you'd have been talking about it forever. But because it's poor Jacob Murphy, one of the commentators even got his bloody name wrong and said he was Josh Murphy. Yeah, exactly. Amazing. And the other great thing is that knowing that Darren and Pedro and Pablo rather and Denise were all in the crowd. I didn't think I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to see them. Well, every time the ball went to their end, I seen them. You could see Darren standing there, and Pablo and his mate with their heads just above the bar. The only one I couldn't see was Denise, so obviously she was slightly different place. But you managed to get a photograph taken with Adam Pearson, so she's proof she was there. Great. I mean, I admire you for going and envy you for the way you enjoyed it, because it took me back to the days when I used to take all the lads to the away games all over the country. Lots to enjoy. My own view is that had we got another goal before half time, or had that shot of Murphy's that hit the post got in, you could have picked your score. It would have been a hatful. But as it is, it didn't, and they coasted home at the finish. Why every game now, not just ours, but other games as well, I end up cursing VAR. Why did it take all the time to decide it was a penalty? And go on. And then the stupid commentator who couldn't stop himself because he's an Arsenal fan, instead of talking about Isaac's skill, went on a rant about when he's going to be transferred to Arsenal. I mean, where's the impartiality these days? I mean, it just beggars belief and detracts from important for me is how well we played, how well we're in the moment just now, and back on song. And if we can continue like that, as I keep saying, if the right Newcastle United turns up, we could beat anybody. There's no question about that. And long may it continue, Steve. I'll leave it because otherwise I'm going to go on and on forever. Great weekend. Tonali, man of the match by country mile, but one or two not far behind him. Oh, and of course our good friend Jacob Murphy, now one of the top assisters in the Premiership at the moment, which might not get noticed by everybody. But yeah, great, Steve, wonderful, and good to see NUFC matters well represented.
Yes, thank you, George. Great to have you here, Darren. What was the journey like, first and foremost? I heard compliments all round for your driving.
Yeah, to be fair, Pablo drove back from Southampton to Leeds, so it did help us that way. And I drove from Leeds. It was good. Steve had a good day. It was from start to finish. Well, it's a long day, but it was worth going down. I agree with George on 2 points. I think Tonali was man of the match, and VAR takes far too long because there was 1 point for the penalty. We thought it was a penalty straight away, but they took forever to give the penalty. So that's to agree with George on. And Pablo met Adam P. He was buzzing. He wanted to go home 1 point. I said, you got to stay for the game, mate. So he stayed for the game.
What, with Adam P?
That's something. I mean,
I did see the photograph. He was smiling.
He was in the sweet shop. That's how
He
bad he was.
His smile was wider than when he met Shearer. I've got to be honest. I was surprised. Adam's a good lad. Like, I can understand.
I met Adam P. I'm so happy. You know what I mean? So
I might have to start doing an audience with Adam. I'm going to ring him up and tell him Pablo will be first in the queue by the sounds of it.
Right, about the game. First 25 minutes I thought we were dreadful, and Pablo bagged on that.
Yeah.
my passing was sloppy. Joe Linton was the worst player on the pitch. He played dreadful.
Yeah.
I would have took him off half time. Dan Burn fell up. He was Dan Burn's fault for the goal. He fell over, gave the ball away. When he there, you see a different game, boy. I'm sorry if you do. And he fell over. He said, just shut it out. He fell over, gave the ball past them. They crossed it in. You got men in the box who were not covering. Both a bounce ball, got the penalty, got the second goal that helped us, and then when Tenali scored the third goal, it was a game-set match. But it was a good win. And like I said, the first 25 minutes, I thought were really dreadful. And I thought Joe Linton was shocking on Saturday. I would have took him off half time because he didn't have a good game. Bruno, he done all right, but nothing great. And what's Fabian Shaw doing? Why is he duck? He was lucky with offside. He took a gamble when he's letting duck for them to score the second goal. Thank God, thought that he was offside. I just don't know why he's doing that, risking that sort of thing. But like it was bar that it's some good points, some bad points. And now Murphy got assists, but he watched me through a game. He doesn't stand right. When Tenali had Tino had the ball, he wouldn't need the option. Murphy's nowhere to be seen for him to pass the ball. He's too close to him. That's but Pablo Barron, he said that in the game. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he crosses the ball in, but he's all generous said he doesn't know where to be for an attacking player to go down. He was stationary. It was good to see Mickey get a good send off. I will say anyhow, made him go to fans because we're saying his name. He got a great ovation and appreciation. It was good for Almirón to get that. I've got to give a quick mention to a lad called George went to a seat. He said Darren W2 did of the day. He watches NUFC all the time, he says, so I thought I'd give a shout to him. But that's it. That's my strong opinion, Steve.
Good stuff. Okay, Tom, good evening, good afternoon to you. Watching the game at Stateside at the weekend, what was your take on that 3-1 win at Southampton?
Well, I was watching it on a phone in a car. We were driving down to my son's house to celebrate my grandson's birthdays. Hi, Winston and TC. So we had it on Apple Play and we were listening to it. And you would have thought it was a home match listening to the Geordie away fans. It was unbelievable listening to them. My wife and I actually joined in some of the songs. It was so loud. So shout out to all the fans. I know, as you mentioned, Pablo and Darren and Denise was there. So I only had it on my phone. So that night we went and saw the replay and I blew it up and I did see the top of Denise's head. So Denise Applewhite, I saw you from here up and I could tell it was you. So it was nice seeing you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree quite with Darren on some things. I know that their goal is that, yes, Burns shepherded out of bounds. He fell over. He was getting back into the play. And by the time he's getting back into the frame, Tino Livramento was guarding two people on the 6-yard line. I don't know what Tino was supposed to do there. And I saw Linton and even Tenali kind of ball watching a little bit, especially Joe Linton. He should have tracked back and helped in that situation.
Yeah.
There's some when the center back's out of the play, obviously someone has to shuffle in and to cover that spot. And I don't think that happened. So if Kevin was on here, George could certainly say that. People who know the game better than I do, they would say who should have done that. But I don't think it was on Dan Burns. I disagree with Darren as much as I love him. I disagree with him quite a bit. And that goes to Murphy as well. I watched the replay and I watched the interaction between Murphy, Livramento, and Tenali. And which really impressed me is I usually do that every match. I try to watch a partnership or a triangle to see how people are communicating. And I think Jacob Murphy's defensive play is well overlooked. It's amazing how well that he tracks back and he interacts with Tino. I thought that was pretty good. Again, not for the goal, but for throughout the match, I thought he was. So Darren and I will disagree, but that's kind of what I thought. there. And then the one thing I do want to say and finish off with is I am so happy to see Martin on here. I've watched him and heard him for a long time, and I think that he's really a classy guy that knows his stuff. So, Martin, I'm really thrilled to be with you, and glad you're on the show with us.
Thanks, Tom. Much appreciated. It's good to be back. I'll say my little piece once I get round. I'd like to just make sure Joe just got enough time to say what he needs to say, because that's the most important lad on this panel. So,
well, I think that your comment of the worst players ever to play for Newcastle United was right on. I really enjoyed that episode and actually saved it. So, right on for that.
Great stuff. Welcome back, Martin. Yeah, we'll have a crack with you in a second. Just want to reiterate this week we are giving away a pair of tickets for the evening with Lee Clark coming up on Friday at the Tyne Irish Centre, 7 o'clock. If you want a chance to win some tickets, then get yourself onto our email address. You can see it on the bottom of the screen there, nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com. It is free, and you'll get a chance to meet Barry Hogan. Barry put his name in the hat last night, and he won some tickets, as did Roger Cook. So get yourself along if you can. All you need to do is email us, nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com, and you could be the winner of tickets. If you get an email back from us, you will be a winner. So on to Jeff. Welcome back, Jeff. Great to see you, mate. Give us your views on the game of the weekend.
Well, it didn't surprise me that the goal came down the left. Right, it's if anything, it's our weakness. When you see stuff coming down the right, there's almost, as George said, Jacob Murphy. There's always more going on. There's always seems to be more people defending on the right than there is on the left. There seems to be more space, which is, I think, a byproduct of the fact we're more advanced on that side. A lot of our action goes down that side, crosses coming in, etc. Tonali's tremendous. What can you say? And what I do like is in the good old days, your defensive midfielder was a Robbie Savage, right? Wandering around in circles. And the best they ever did was knock the ball sideways. Nowadays, take the ball and it's straight through the middle. And you could drive a bus through the middle of Southampton last time.
Yeah.
And I did like the fans singing. Oh, yes. As soon as they scored, you could hear the fans singing. Defiantly, you could, out-sing the Southampton fans. It's a sad day. It's a sad sight, but they're going down. I can't see them doing anything other than going down. And we're in a very nice position.
It's interesting. It's interesting, Jeff, isn't it? We've gone through this period, where people were, discontent last year because of the injury list, and obviously, the lack of transfers over the last couple of windows has got people on a downer. But Eddie Howe still finds a way, doesn't he? And the one thing he's managed to achieve this season is that unity in the dressing room. When everyone at the start of the season felt, things weren't going well, people were questioning Howe's ability as a manager. But 10 wins out of 11, Jeff.
Well, you can't complain. And losing, it's good for us to lose occasionally. Otherwise, you get like Arsenal fans. We'll end up with an entitlement complex. And he hasn't done it by spending money. I mean, that's the other thing. We haven't just gone out and bought lots of. I mean, Southampton had lots of double-barrel players. I think that's a mistake a lot of clubs buy. Double-barreled English players. What do they have? Walker Peters, Harwood Bellis. Twice. You get a nice big name on the back of your shirt. But I don't think it's particularly good. And apart from that, I'm just thrilled to see us win away. And an update on Adam P. Did you not hear about the bed bugs in his hotel?
His videos crisp me up when he goes away from home. I think that's a touch of genius. It's a touch of genius reviewing hotels, and he does it so well. So I can see why.
I send the videos out to Pablo every day now when I see them now.
I can see why Pablo is taken with him. I really can. But we'll come to Pablo. We'll come to Pablo at the end and find out why his man crushes Adam P. Martin, welcome back. You've had a bit of time out, mate. Family's got to come first, and we all understand that. You've, as always, mate, you've kept in touch, and we've kept in touch. But good to have you back on the show, mate.
It is. It's good to be back, Tom. Thanks very much for your kind words. And yeah, you too, Steve. A bit of time out. I switched jobs. So I kind of finished up, and won't get into a big long story, but like most places, when you're in a fairly decent position and you hand your notice in, they don't like you hanging around. So I had 3 months off over Christmas, which was lovely, and just really enjoyed the family time. Did the school run, made dinner, learned how to put on a washing machine and stuff. So yeah, I've enjoyed myself, but working hard again now. But yeah, all good. The match on Saturday, yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree with Darren. To be fair, I think the first 20 minutes we were quite sloppy. I think it was the last couple of games. I would say I don't think Joe Linton has played that well. At times, I think I would agree. I think he probably should have got hooked at half time. The other thing I would say is sometimes I know Bruno wants to see the ball every second, and we try and put everything through him, or kind of, he's in and around the play. But sometimes in that kind of 8 position where he's kind of settling now with Tonali in at the 6, I'd love to see him step off a little bit sometimes. And I think if he was to move around sometimes just a little bit more in a different position, I think he'd actually open up more of the play, possibly for Tonali or Joe Linton. And I think sometimes, in particular with Joe Linton and Bruno, I think they can be quite close together sometimes, too close at times. And I think that can hurt us. So I'd like to see Bruno sometimes not necessarily want to be with the ball every single second, if you get me. I think he could do some damage as well just by his movement, because he'll pull a player, or if not 2 players trying to track him. So I think sometimes he just needs to be a little bit cleverer in and around the ball, and maybe, step off it a little bit. I'd be interested to see what the other lads think. With Shaw
Martin,
coming back.
Martin,
yeah, on,
I'm sorry. I heard that you were agreeing with Darren, and I used to like you. That is no longer the case. So I take back all the compliments.
He's only human.
Exactly.
Welcome back.
No, I didn't say I don't agree with him with everything, but I'll give him a couple of caveats. But
I am glad how you agree with something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was good to see Shaw back, but what worries me, kind of pre him going out with the injury and kind of coming back, he just seems to have this mistake in him all of a sudden. And he kind of worries me sometimes, because I think, what's he going to do next? 1 minute he can play like the ball that he did up to Isak for Tonali's goal. But then the next minute he steps off and he's nowhere near his marker. And I'm kind of going, it just worries me a little bit at times when he's in there. I was quite surprised that I kind of get Botman's coming back into it, but I was surprised he got dropped for Shaw coming back in. I thought Eddie might have stuck with Botman, but listen, he knows better than me. But I thought overall it was a good game. I agree with George 100%. I think if that was Kevin De Bruyne passing through to Rodri or through to Haaland for that goal, for Tonali's goal, that would have been played time and time again on Match of the Day and Sky Sports News. And I think for me, it is, from a Newcastle perspective, I think it's probably one of the best pass and move goals that you will see from us this season. Yeah. And I think it's one of the best goals you'll see in the Premier League this season. Yeah. Just for outright movement, because it was just slick. And if we can do it once, we can do it again, is my take on it. So I thought it was a good match. First 20 odd minutes, I thought we were a little bit sloppy. Passes were a bit all over the place. Once we took control, I think we kind of ran them ragged a bit. I don't think we got out of second gear in the second half. So I think we just need to tidy up a couple of the little errors and the bit of passing. Again, I'd like to see Bruno maybe sometimes step off. But I will say, on kind of passing the baton across, I would like to give a shout out to Jacob Murphy, because I don't think he gets the credit he's due at times off the fan base. And I think the thing that has impressed me with him this season, a couple of things, has been his work rate, which I think has improved tremendously. He still makes the odd mistake, and sometimes the pass is wrong time or wrong place, and that can happen. He's a young lad. But I think his work rate has been impressive. But I think what a lot of people don't talk about that is there is, I think he has got a really good link up with Isak. And I don't think enough people are talking about it. I think they know, he just knows where he's going to be and where he's at. And I think they're starting to develop from that right-hand side this little bit of link-up play that's got these assists and got Isak's goals. And I just think we need to give the kid a little bit of a shout-out, because I think he's not getting fair due credit. I think he can have a 40-minute, 50-minute good game, and then he has a semi-good game for 20 minutes, and he gets a bit of rope at the end, especially on Twitter. So I think we just need to give him a little bit more love at times when he might slide off for the last 20 minutes of a game. But listen, if he pops up every game with 2 assists and Isak gets a hat-trick, he can have a shitty 20 minutes at the back end of a game. I don't care. So I just want to give the kid a bit of a shout-out, because I think he's having a really good season, and long may it continue.
Great stuff, Martin. Good to have you back. Barry, welcome back as well. You had a bit of time off with your doors and probably polishing them up or twiddling your knobs. Anyway, welcome back. What was your take on the game at the weekend?
For me, I totally agree with what the guys said. The guys have said about the first 20 minutes. I thought we looked nervous, which I don't know whether that's down to obviously the previous game where we tried pretty much everything at stages and nothing worked. In the first 10, 15 minutes, it looked as though it was going to go the same way at one stage. I think we were just way too powerful for Southampton. I think Southampton set up their stall a certain way. They don't have a striker to their name, which I think is probably their biggest weakness this season, is to have some decent players going forward, but there's nobody up front for them. I mean, you think Adam Armstrong's their joint top scorer with 2 goals, and you just think that says so much about them. But give our team due. I think once the 20 minutes was up, we started to control the game more. Totally agree with the guys. I think Tonali was just absolute class. He really was. I think as well for me, what I would do with Tonali is get him and Isak to do some one-on-one with the goalkeeper training, because he might actually be able to show Isaac what to do with the ball when he comes up against the goalkeeper. Because if he can add that to his game, that kid is going to score you 30, 35 goals a season, because that's the only bit for me with our super striker that I can actually have a pick at, because that's the only thing he seems to struggle with. And Tonali didn't have that. You just knew as soon as he got anywhere near the goal and the keep was coming up, and you thought, this is it. The guy is so confident. Totally agree with the guys. I get what Darren says about Murphy. Murphy is not our long-term right midfielder. There's going to be far better players coming to the club. But at the same time, I agree with Martin. Murphy's playing out of his skin. He's building up that, which has happened a few times in the past, that telepathic link with Isaac, that he knows where he is. And I thought that would happen with Gordon. I thought Gordon would do that with him, but Gordon, I think, is more greedy. He wants that. He wants to go for himself. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but he's more than happy to take it on himself and go for goal, whereas Murphy very rarely goes for goal rather than looks for who to pass it to, which I think is the difference. But Murphy's never going to be in the team next season. If we have the summer that we're talking about, spending all this big money, I think he'll be the first one to be replaced. But I think, like Martin said, you've got to give him credit for the way he's played this season. He's just been unbelievable. He's been a godsend considering who else we've got in that position. And the fact that we are now letting Almirón go without there being a replacement coming in, I think that just shines. But yeah, I think we need to keep improving, because I still don't know if that side would do as well against Arsenal as we did in the first leg, because I don't think they're back to that form yet. I think they need to improve against Fulham and get to that stage. I think, like the guys have said, they were sloppy at times. But yeah, great result. Good to get back to winning ways and move on to the next one.
It's a good point you make. That, to be honest, they're not firing on all cylinders, and it was a tough game, potential banana skin against Southampton, but they got the win. That's the most important thing. Southampton will be a different test altogether at the weekend. Magnus, feelings? Oh, there goes the light, Pablo. Feelings on the match at the weekend, Magnus. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with the lads. We didn't have the best of starts, but we've come to the point that against those teams, it doesn't really worry me by going behind anymore. Especially earlier in the game. So no team in the league scares me anymore. Absolutely none. And we have the sensational midfield. I don't think. I think this midfield is right up there with the best in Europe, easily. And Tonali has been absolutely sensational. He is the... I don't want to compare him to anybody, but he has to be right up there with Kevin De Bruyne and quality players like that. I know he's got a little less time to show for it, but for me, he's just one of the best midfielders I've ever seen in my life. Great sort of comeback. I think Bruno was being hard on himself with making the pass that led to the penalty. This was a pass that kind of changed the game. Strangely, it took so long to make the decision. The commentators were driving me absolutely crazy. They really were certain that this was no penalty whatsoever, and it's almost to the point that I was starting to believe it until I saw a little bit closer look again, and I was certain right from the start. I have a refereeing degree myself, and it looked like a penalty right from the start. I don't understand the fuss about Bruno's substitution at 79th minute. He is his biggest critic, seems to be. Surely he has had better games than this, but I want him to just chin up and forget about it. Being taken off as a star player on 79th minute. It's been cold down there, hasn't it? I think that he's protecting him. The injuries often happen right in the end of games. So I see absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it needs no explaining. Taking him off on 79th minute and putting fresh legs. No explanations needed for that. Preserving energy. We got a tight schedule ahead. There's Fulham and there's Arsenal coming up. And these were solid 3 points away from home. No game is easy in the Premier League, and well done for the fans. I could hear them right down to my bones. Singing their voices out. Well done, you guys, Pablo and Darren, man. Why didn't you take your tops off like the rest of them, man? Join the club. Anyway, you did well, man. You were loud as hell, man. Makes me proud to see fans like that. It is a dream of mine to go and be in the away fan area one day. It really looks like the true fans. We're gonna maybe talk about the right wing situation later. I'll save that for a little bit. But yeah, all in all, really happy with the 3 points. Back on track. We got the reaction, Penman results that we wanted, and I'm pretty pleased and optimistic for the next few games.
Great stuff, Magnus. Pablo, you can defend yourself now.
I have no defence. There is no defence to it. I am officially a fanboy. I think the fact that he was wearing a full club tracksuit kind of got me.
All right.
And that reeled me in, mate, and that was it. I didn't really see much at match because I was in dreamland. I can't give you an assessment on what went on the pitch because I was thinking of Adam.
He is a good lad, Adam. So it's good. Good that you've seen him anyway, which is great. What did you make of the game?
Just to back up what Magnus has said there, we do have the best fans in the league. That is no doubt. I've only just got my voice back now, by the way. But yeah, from minute one, even leading up to the match and through the match, the fans, they're literally something else. And, you just find yourself smiling, singing and smiling, which is great. The day was fantastic. Great company. Denise was awesome. Darren was awesome. It was just a fantastic day to be a Newcastle fan. I think game-wise, most of the lads have covered it. A couple of things I'd probably pick out. Yeah, we were very slow and sloppy in the first 25 minutes. I don't think it was nerves. I think it was just the fact we weren't at it. I don't think nerves were a problem. There was no 1-2s coming off, any flick-ons. It all just kind of seemed to fall flat for 25 minutes, which kind of left you thinking, oh, my God, here we go again when their goal went in. But I think the penalty did us proud. And obviously, once the penalty went in, we lifted it. We got on top. Southampton, for me, I think, yes, they are poor. The only thing, I've never seen a player that's taller than Dan Burn, but they're tall, big striker. For me, it was causing Burn concern. But again, it's because Burn was dropping 2 or 3 yards off him. But it wasn't just Burn; it was most of the side at that point. I don't think we'd found the rhythm. Come half time, the game was. I think it looks more convincing or more comprehensive than what it actually was. Because when you watch a game live, you're not just seeing the action moments, and the flash points. You're actually looking at the big picture of the pitch, which, as most of you all know, And I think it was a closer game than what the score suggests, purely for the fact We come out at half time, and the first 25 minutes after half time, we looked like a different side. We were like a side possessed. So we'd obviously fired into them at half time. We got ourselves ahead, hit the post twice. So yeah, you could argue it was a little more comprehensive that way. But I don't think Southampton are as bad as what the media are making out. If this new guy had had them from day one, I don't think they'd be in that bad a position. I still think they'd be with the pack. So a win's a win, and we responded exactly the way we needed to. And with Bournemouth smashing Forest at weekend, it now kind of puts a little bit more reality on what happened to us the week before. You know, it wasn't just a one-off for them. They're a cracking side. So all in all, I would also disagree that the double-barrel names for Southampton, Walker-Peters and Harwood Bellis, I think if you put them, Darren will probably agree with me because we were watching these guys. I think if you put them in sides that were a little stronger, I actually think those two lads there would actually be a decent acquisition for our side or a decent side because they've got that little bit of class about them. I won't bother touching the Murphy stuff. The fans at the end for Miggy, oh Jesus Christ, it was phenomenal. I mean, I'd imagine he probably had a tear in his eye, but it was like next level.
Let's go to that now because I'm going to do the ads at the end of the show tonight. So let's start off with you on that now, and you can go first on this. Miguel Almirón, it was he was pushed forward deliberately. I mean, they were just they were saying that the fans were singing his name, and that's what he got pushed forward for. But Fabrizio Romano today has done his infamous cry out on Twitter. That we're almost done. It's on. He's going back to Atlanta. So. Judging by Miggy's fitness, I don't think we'll have any problems with the medical. I would imagine we'll hear some kind of announcement in the next 24 hours, 48 hours that it's all been done and dusted, and he's gone back to Atlanta. But sum up Miggy as a player. What he brought to the team. He came under Mike Ashley in the Mike Ashley era, didn't he? And he's been a great servant. He's been a great servant, I think. Would you hope that we're going to replace him as well, Pablo?
Yeah, Miggy is one of my favourite players, not only for the fact of he's a winger and I played, at the wing. His kind of general attitude towards life and the game is how you would envisage yourself playing it. If I was given a chance to play for Newcastle, I would be a Miggy. So I've always identified a lot with him on that. His work rate is like, I mean, we talk about Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy is just another version of Miggy. Yes, the quality isn't at top level, but he will turn up and he'll do your shift. And we've benefited from Miggy's work rate on several occasions, and we've needed him at certain times. And don't forget the season or two where he was an absolute blinder. He was slamming him in from all over the shop. And I think even in the warm-up, I was watching him, and even in the warm-up, the lad's got the attitude. He's got the rest of the lads going. He's smiling. He's having a bit of a joke. And you need them kind of characters in a dressing room. It can't all be work. The team is a blend, and Miggy for us has been. I love him, and I wish him the best. And I always say, football fans can be quite callous and fickle. And I remember saying to Liv the other night, if you can imagine the situation he's in, he's invested 7 years of his life or whatever it is close to into Newcastle, into the team, into everything that we've done, and all of a sudden his whole life's going to change like that. And it's not his choice, probably isn't his choice. So he's got to uproot everything. So there's got to be a human level where I feel for him, where that's why he was emotional, because you've given 7 years to a cause and it's switched off like a light. Yeah, he's going to go and earn good money, but he ain't going to get that kind of reception and that kind of love that we were showing him on Saturday. It just ain't going to happen at Atalanta or wherever he goes. And I wish him well, mate. And yeah, I don't think we'll replace him in this window, to be honest. I think what they'll do, they'll hold on and look for that quality right winger, which I think Murphy will play the rest of the year. We'll swap and change between Barnes and Gordon. I just don't think they'll go out and splash big on a right winger. I mean, we've only got, 4 days left-ish? So I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it will be summer, lads.
Well said, Pablo. Well said.
All right, good stuff. Magnus, how are you feeling about Miggy leaving, going to Atlanta?
Yes, I'm gonna miss him in a way. I think this is a good timing as well, because times have changed. I mean, when he came to the club, we smashed a 15-year-old record. There was Michael Owen at the time. I don't like mentioning him really, but he walked right into a storm with And I'm grateful that this is partly thanks to Rafa Benitez. He put his reputation on the line to bring him along, and Mike Astley wasn't exactly spending a lot of money back then. So he was a signing that gave us hope back then. And he walked right into a storm, not knowing what he was expecting. He very rarely got to play his favorite position, but he smiled through absolutely everything. And like Pablo said, you need characters like this. It must be great to be around. And I've seen a few as I speak Spanish. I've seen a few interviews with him there. He seemed to absolutely adore the city and the people of Newcastle. So what a great servant. Thank you, Miggy. I cannot thank you enough. And last time I went to Newcastle, that was during his purple patch, where he actually just made an assist for. I think it was Joe Willock in the Chelsea game at home a few years ago. With regards to a replacement, there's a guy that was linked with the club last week named Hákon Haraldsson, and I am very, very impressed with him. I would like to see him in the team. He's been in the international team of Iceland since he was 16 years old. He's gone through the ranks. He went from the Icelandic club to FC Copenhagen. Then he's moved on to Lille. He played at Anfield the other day, so he's a Champions League experienced. He can play on both flanks and number 10, so he's very versatile. And high work rate, sort of great creativity and pace. I really would like to see this guy in the club, and I'm desperate to get an Icelander to the club, so they keep getting linked to Newcastle, and now we got to stop talking about it or regret not having bought him and seeing him go somewhere else, because I think he will be right up there when we make the World Cup in 2026. If Craig Hope is talking about it, it must be something behind it. The other alternatives, if we are only thinking PSR rules and we're not going to sign anybody, then, Karan Kuyol played a good game the other day on the right flank. He against Gateshead, he scored and made an assist. So if we're not buying anybody, we might look at and see how his progress is doing.
Yeah, I think we'll go for bigger. I think we'll go for a bigger name in the summer. I'd love to think Paul Mitchell's got something lined up for this window, but if not, I think it'll be addressed in the summer. Certainly do think that. But Barry, give us your views on Miggy.
I just think he epitomises everything that Eddie Howe wants from a player, isn't it? Attitude-wise, his passion for the game, his connection that he's created with the fans, his smile, his whole attitude just shines amongst the team. I do think Magnus made a really good point there that we have very rarely seen Miggy playing in the right position, the position that he does so well through his national side, probably the position that we saw him in when we first purchased him. He's not a right midfielder. So all these times that he's been slated for one thing or another, he's always been playing out of position because we've had nobody else. I wish the guy the best in the world. I think I disagree with Pablo that he'll go back to Atlanta where he's basically worshipped. They were devastated when he left there to come to Newcastle in the first place. I think he's going to get everything he deserves because he's played his heart out for us. I think, unfortunately, it's that stage where we've probably now got 3 positions on the pitch for me that really need improving drastically, which is your right midfield, a quick, pacey centre-half, and a goalkeeper. They're the 3 positions that we need to bring up to the level of the rest of the team, because the rest of the team's there or thereabouts now. Yes, I'm not saying we're going to win the title with this side, but the rest of them are on a par, I think, with how good they are and how they're developing. But Miggy, yeah, bless him. I wish him all the best, Steve. I think he's He's been an amazing player for the club. I wish he'd scored on against Southampton because he deserved it, just for all the memories he's brought to the team. Yes, he hasn't been world class, but you cannot knock him for his commitment. And just thank you very much, Matt.
Good stuff. Martin?
I think the lads have said loads. I think he's been a really good servant to the club. He's always done what he was asked, whether he was playing out of position. I think, the one thing I think he scored some belting goals in the time that he did. I remember the first goal he scored after, so many games of not scoring. And I remember his first goal and him ripping off the shirt and running to the corner flag. So you could tell that he loved the club and he was happy to be there. I think, probably his biggest fault is he's like a lot of players, really. Sometimes they're just purple patch players. Miggy was definitely a purple patch player. He'd have a run of games and a run of goals, and then he'd dry up and he'd go off form a bit. So I think, he'll go back, as the lad said, he'll go back to Atlanta and he'll settle back in, and I'm sure the wife and the kids will be happy, and he'll see out the career and he'll be happy over there. But I think, the one thing I think we need to give him the credit for is he was the first one to score a goal for us in the Champions League after 20 years. And I think for that goal alone, I will take my hat off to the lad and say thanks very much, Miggy. And I wish you all the best, because that night he scored that goal. I think that's the loudest I've ever heard St. James's in my life. So I think for that and that goal, I will always remember him. But I wish him the best.
Great stuff. Jeff, feelings about Miggy? Looks as if it's almost done and dusted now.
Well, I thought he'd gone to Atlanta. That's that's the best place for him to go, because at least he's sort of like going home in a way. He in terms of the current team, he used to commit on the negative side. He used to lose possession. He was a little bit sloppy with his passing and he'd lose possession, which is a cardinal sin in our new playbook. But I like to think of him still being there. I think like the Cheshire Cat, he'll just fade away into a grin. There'll just be a grin somewhere, dispossessed grin running down our right-hand side.
Yeah, that was what he was known for. He got a lot of stick. People used to say, I remember Malcolm on the show, Jeff used to say, Miggy can run all day, but he never takes the ball with him. And if you left the doors open at the end of the stadium, Miggy would run through the doors and down Barrack Road and onto the boulevard. That was what he was known for. But I think what's already come out of the lads on the panel here tonight is that everyone as well in the chat, lots of people have got a lot of affection for Miggy and are thankful for what he did. He has been a great servant. He hasn't been a great player in terms of scoring record amount of goals or having a record of amounts of assists. He had a really good spell for Newcastle though, and it came under Eddie Howe. But overall, he's not the best player we've had, but he's certainly not the worst, Jeff.
Yeah. And I wish him every luck. That's what
Yeah, good stuff. Tom, your feelings?
Yeah, well, Mickey, we got a really good fee for him based on his contract, right? So that's really good for the club. Atlanta, he's absolutely worshipped there, as I think Barry said. I have many, many friends in Atlanta. I do a lot of business in Atlanta, and they are Newcastle fans because of Miggy, and they're elated that he's coming back. So it's good for Atlanta. He's going to move back to the number 10 role, not be out on the wing, and that's where he plays best. That's certainly his best. But I think most importantly, it's good for Miggy. I think he's going to keep playing, keep smiling. So you can't be unhappy about the result. I think this is the perfect time for him to leave. And I love Jeff's comment about the Cheshire Cat. That's exactly it. I could envision that. So I think that was really, really good. The things I mentioned about the things I remember about Miggy is the give and go volley at Fulham, where he gave it to Bruno, and Bruno popped it back over and he hit that volley in from the side. I think that goal and the goal against PSG, as Martin mentioned, that's how I'm going to remember Miggy. It was those two goals that he was able to. Both of those will be in our history books, right? Because they were both so world-class goals. One for the occasion, PSG, and one for just the audacity of trying that volley off the volley. I thought that was really terrific. And I would have loved to have seen him go out with a right-footed goal. He took a right-footed shot. I would have loved to have seen that. Miggy's my wife's favorite player, and I've always been the curmudgeon in the house when Miggy's on because he only had one foot. And if he would have got that right, I think my wife would have turned and punched me in the face because she so loves him, and she would have loved to see him do that, especially all the abuse that I've given him over the years. So good luck to Miggy. Good for the club. Good for Atlanta. Good for Miggy. And away the lad.
Great stuff. Darren, Miguel Almirón.
He's like a Duracell battery. He never stops, does he? You can, from the first minute, you run all day. But as you said, Steve, he wasn't a great player. He was average at best. But he worked his socks up. I think it'll be a lot of women crying because he's going because everybody loved his smile. He always smiled whatever he was doing. But I'm glad to see he's going back. His hobbies work shit. But he served his time. Like Paul said, it would have been great if he scored the goal on Saturday because it was just said that something you deserved. And then the send off was very emotional. You could see him. He didn't want to go there, and how pushed him was good, and he got a good welcome, good ovation. But no. He's been a good servant, but I think it's time to move on and wish him all the best.
Okay. George, feelings on Miggy leaving?
Oh, sad to see him go, frankly. Every dressing room needs a Miggy. A professional who's just professional right from the start to the finish. And he does it with a smile on his face. You need somebody like that in the dressing room, and he's been great for us. What people also need to remember, for the last 2 years, or at least the last 4 windows, he's had to sit and listen to people saying that the club are trying to sell him. In fact, on 2 occasions, they had him on his way to Saudi Arabia, they had him on his way to somewhere else. And he smiled through all of that without getting huffy. And I mean, think in the past that players who actually refused to play because they didn't get what they wanted. None of that from Miggy. If he's on the pitch, 100%. And it's with a smile. The other thing is, he was bought by Rafa as a number 10 because he was killing the MLS as a number 10 for Atlanta. That's why Rafa bought him. Rafa used him a couple of times, but since Howe came, he's been a right winger, and he's done it with good grace. You know, I can think of at least 2 or 3 players who would be saying, "I'm not playing there because not where I usually play." And you lads can pick the names as well as I can, but not Miggy. Just tries and tries and tries. Yes, it's not always world class, but when he's played for his national team, he is world class. I talk to people in South America. I watched some of the South American videos when he's played in the South American Cups, and he's great, and he scores the goals as a number 10. We've chosen not to use him like that, but he's still done it with a smile. So I'll miss Miggy because of his energy and Jeff's image about the Cheshire Cat can't be beaten. And that's something I would enjoy as well, because the guy's done his shift, and as the lads say, he's done it, and not always the best, but certainly, you know, without any shadow of a doubt, he was always trying and always with a smile on his face. So, and the other thing is, as a Geordie and a supporter of nearly 79 years now, I love it when somebody from totally different culture, totally different background, suddenly finds himself in Newcastle, and within a short space of time, they love Geordies, they love Newcastle, and you can see that in Miggy. And so yeah, as you can gather, I'm quite sad to see him go, but good luck to him if it's done, because we still don't know officially that it is. If it's done, then good luck to him. And as Tom says, everybody knows that he's going back to a place where he's going to be welcomed with open arms, and I suspect his family will as well. So good luck to him, and thanks to him for what he's done.
Yeah. Just want to congratulate our two winners tonight, Tony Moat, well done, and Ewan Murray, well done. You won a pair of tickets for the Lee Clark event on Friday night, 7 o'clock at the Irish Centre. Well done on everybody. I did want to leave the last couple of minutes on the show just to make an announcement. And those of you who have followed NUFC Matters for many years since the lockdown period will recognise that guy on the right-hand side sporting the original blue and purple Newcastle United Adidas strip. It's, of course, Chris Argyris, a very good friend of the channel who sadly we lost with COVID in 2021, January 2021. Chris was with us outside Parliament, number 10, Downing Street, and the EPL head office. And this comes from an email from Dave Havery, who was with us as well. Chris's parents, who were good friends with the food bank, and still hold the record for funds raised for the NUFC Matters T-shirts. Well, they are flying in from California as part of his memorial service. They are going to be attending the Fulham game this weekend. And after consultation via Dave with me and Keith Patterson, they're going to pop to the Irish Centre on Saturday at 12:30. They have asked to meet as many of his friends there as possible. Marcia, George and Dave Havery will be at the Irish Centre on Saturday at 12:30 to meet anybody who would like to meet the family of Chris Argyris. It'll be a nice thing for them. So if you were part of the protests at Downing Street to try and get the takeover through back in the day, then please feel free to come along and come and see the family, because Chris was our American correspondent right at the start. He was a great lad. Many of you'll remember with hilarity Chris doing his walk from work on occasions and walking through the streets, still trying to contribute to the fans forum and give a running commentary as he was running down various American streets. It was fantastic, and he was a great lad, and such a pity that that his life was snuffed out so early. But he was a top lad. We all miss him. But you get a chance to come and see his family, please do come along 12:30 on Saturday before the Fulham game at the Tyneside Irish Centre. I'll make no apologies for making that announcement on a couple of the other shows this week, just so many people can hear. But just want to thank the lads, as always. Thanks, as always, to George, to Darren, to Tom, to Jeff, the returning Jeff and Martin, to Barry, who's given up his life on the doors tonight to come back on the panel. Big thanks to Magnus, and to Pablo, who's now going to probably jump onto Adam P's podcast now and do a little bit on there. Only joking, Pablo. I love you, son. Thanks, everybody. Back 1:30 tomorrow, live with Talk of the Tune. Join us then. Take care. See you soon. Good night.
Hi, boys.
Good night, everybody. Good to see you, lads. Good to see
A
you,
big
lads.
thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Contact them at their website, skipsandbins.com/contact. Visit their website, skipsandbins.com. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can contact them at their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to United Group Travel, 2024 tour operator winner, 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Website is www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. 01670 632 460 is the office number, or the mobile 0791 666 4174. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. Their website is media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can find us on Sports Social. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to support the channel, hit the thumb up under the video, that's your like button. Click share to share to your other social media. Click the subscribe button and subscribe to us for free. Or click the join button. You can also check out our description under the video. You can buy us a coffee or you can become a Patreon member. There are some events to look out for this year. An afternoon with Celeste Ferdinand takes place on the 6th of April, 12 o'clock till 4 p.m. at the O2 City Hall. Tickets for that event are from ticketmaster.co.uk. The Clooney are holding a new event called No Covers, with local bands playing songs and no covers. Chris Norris Band, Lilac Lane and Ryder are featured on the 27th of April, and that is 12 till 4. Tickets are from theclooney.com or by calling 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howie and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place on the 27th of June, and that is at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets from newcastlelegends.com. And an evening with John Beresford, and that one is hosted by John Gibson, 25th of July 2025 at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets from newcastlelegends.com. And the Tyne Theatre has now got the tickets on sale for January 2026 for an evening with Beardsley and Waddle. Box office is 0844 246 1000. Website tynetheatreoperahouse.tv. And if music's your thing, Bad Manners will be on at the City Hall in January 2026. Tickets are available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we've got limited edition signed copies of the Entertainers book by 10 of the entertainers. Go to newcastlelegends.com to buy your book today.